A young, talented basketball player, full of dreams, steps onto the court, only to be told he doesn't belong because of the color of his skin. What would you do in his shoes? This is the story of courage, resilience, and a fight for justice that changed everything. Stay tuned to witness how one man stood up against prejudice and inspired millions. It was an ordinary day in a small-town basketball court, buzzing with energy and the sound of sneakers squeaking against the floor. Among the players was LeBron James Sr., a gifted athlete with a passion for the game. Basketball wasn't just a sport to him, it was his escape, his dream, his future. But this wasn't just any court. Watching over the players was a new coach, a white man with a reputation for being strict and unyielding. For LeBron, the court symbolized opportunity, but for this coach, it was a place reserved for his own narrow vision. As LeBron prepared to step onto the court, his excitement turned to confusion when the coach blocked his way. The reason? LeBron's skin color. The coach's outdated mindset clashed with LeBron's determination to prove that talent and character matter more than prejudice. This confrontation would spark a chain of events that no one could have anticipated. The basketball court was alive with energy. Sneakers squeaked against the polished wood floor, the rhythmic bounce of basketballs echoed in the air, and players shouted commands and encouragement to each other. It was a space where dreams took shape and where every player, no matter their background, came to prove their worth. Among the young athletes stood LeBron James Sr., a towering figure with undeniable skill and a passion for the game that lit up his face. For him, basketball wasn't just a pastime, it was his lifeline. Every dribble, every shot, every drop of sweat symbolized his drive to rise above life's challenges. He dreamed of breaking barriers and inspiring others through his talent. Standing near the sideline was the new coach. A white man with a stern expression, he carried an air of authority that demanded respect, or so he thought. His old-fashioned approach to the game came with a deep-seated bias that he didn't bother hiding. To him, the court was not just a place of competition, but a space he believed should cater to his narrow worldview. As LeBron adjusted his jersey and prepared to join the game, he felt a surge of excitement and determination. The court was his second home, and he was ready to give it his all. But as he stepped onto the hardwood, a shadow of tension loomed. All eyes turned toward the coach, whose stern glare froze LeBron in his tracks. LeBron confidently approached the court, gripping the ball in his hands. But before he could take his first step onto the floor, the coach stepped forward, blocking his path. The room fell silent as the players and spectators looked on, sensing the brewing tension. The coach's voice was sharp and cutting. "This court isn't for you," he said, his tone cold and unwelcoming. "Go find another game." LeBron froze, unsure if he'd heard correctly. "Excuse me," he replied, his voice calm but tinged with confusion. "You heard me," the coach barked. "I don't need players like you here. Go play somewhere else." The words hit LeBron like a punch to the gut. He looked around at the other players, hoping someone would speak up, but their eyes were fixed on the floor. Silent witnesses to an injustice they were too scared to challenge. LeBron's confusion quickly turned to determination. He stood tall, his voice steady. "I've got every right to play here, just like everyone else. This court doesn't belong to you." The coach smirked, crossing his arms. "It's my team, my rules. And I say you're not welcome." LeBron could feel the sting of the coach's words, but he refused to back down. The room was thick with tension as players shuffled awkwardly, pretending not to notice. For LeBron, this wasn't just about a game anymore, it was about standing up for himself and for everyone who had ever been judged unfairly. The coach sneered. "You're wasting your time here, kid. Leave before I have to make you." LeBron clenched his fists, not out of anger, but to steady himself. "I'm not going anywhere," he said firmly, meeting the coach's glare. His courage spoke volumes, even as the room remained silent. The confrontation had only just begun, but its impact was already rippling through the court. It was no longer just about basketball, it was about courage, justice, and breaking the chains of prejudice. LeBron stood his ground, his voice calm but firm. Why not me? He asked, his question cutting through the silent gym like a knife. The coach stared him down, his expression hardening. This isn't a place for someone like you, he said coldly, each word dripping with prejudice. LeBron's jaw tightened, but he didn't waver. I'm just here to play basketball, he replied. What's the problem with that? The coach scoffed, shaking his head. You don't belong here. Simple as that. The tension in the room was palpable. Players shifted uncomfortably, and a few spectators whispered among themselves. No one dared to intervene, but the weight of the moment hung heavy on everyone. LeBron refused to back down. You can't stop me from playing because of who I am, he said. This court doesn't belong to you, and neither does this game. As the standoff continued, someone in the crowd discreetly pulled out their phone and started recording. The video captured everything: the coach's blatant discrimination, LeBron's unwavering composure, and the silent complicity of those around them. Within hours, the video was posted online, and it didn't take long for it to go viral. Social media exploded with outrage. People from all walks of life shared the clip, condemning the coach's actions and praising LeBron for standing up to injustice. Hashtags like #StandWithLeBron and #EndRacismInSports began trending worldwide. The incident caught the attention of local authorities. LeBron, determined to hold the coach accountable, filed a formal complaint. The police launched an investigation, and soon the matter was escalating beyond the basketball court. LeBron's actions weren't just about seeking justice for himself, they were about sending a message. His courage sparked a nationwide conversation about racism in sports and the need for equality on and off the court. The case quickly gained national attention, becoming a flashpoint in the ongoing fight against racial discrimination. News outlets picked up the story, and LeBron found himself at the center of a heated debate. The community's reaction was mixed. Many rallied behind LeBron, applauding his bravery and demanding accountability for the coach. Others, however, sided with the coach, defending his actions as strict but fair. LeBron received messages of support from prominent athletes and public figures who praised his courage. But he also faced backlash from those who felt he was blowing the situation out of proportion. Despite the criticism, he remained focused on the bigger picture. When the court hearings began, the nation was watching. Cameras lined the courthouse steps, and journalists documented every moment of the trial. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. LeBron took the stand and gave a heartfelt testimony. He spoke about his love for basketball, how it had been his refuge and his passion since childhood. Basketball is about skill, determination, and teamwork, he said, his voice steady. It's not about the color of your skin. What happened to me wasn't just unfair, it was wrong. And it's something no one should ever have to face. The coach, on the other hand, struggled to defend himself. I was just enforcing the rules, he said repeatedly, avoiding direct answers to questions about his comments and behavior. His excuses rang hollow in the face of the evidence. Witnesses, including some of the players from the gym, testified as well. While some were reluctant to speak out, others confirmed LeBron's account, describing the coach's discriminatory behavior. As the case progressed, the tension grew. Would justice prevail? Or would the system fail LeBron, as it had so many others before him? The court hearings became a symbol of a much larger fight, a fight for equality, respect, and the right to dream without fear of prejudice. The judge's decision was still pending, but one thing was clear: LeBron's courage had already made an impact. The world was watching, and the conversation was just beginning. The courtroom was silent as the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. LeBron sat at the plaintiff's table, his hands clasped tightly together, his face calm but resolute. Across from him, the coach fidgeted nervously, avoiding eye contact. The judge cleared their throat, their voice echoing through the room. This case is not just about a basketball game or one incident on a court. It is about the fundamental principles of equality and respect that must govern our society, the judge began, their tone firm yet composed. Turning to the coach, the judge's gaze was steady. Discrimination has no place in sports, in schools, or in any corner of our community. No one should be judged by the color of their skin or excluded from opportunities because of prejudice. A ripple of murmurs passed through the courtroom as the judge continued. The evidence presented makes it clear that your actions, Coach, were rooted in bias, and they caused significant harm, not just to LeBron but to the principles of fairness and inclusion that this country strives to uphold. You are hereby found guilty of discrimination. LeBron exhaled slowly, relief washing over him as the weight of the decision sank in. The judge wasn't done. As part of this ruling, you are ordered to issue a public apology to LeBron Raymond James Sr. This apology is not just a formality, it is an acknowledgement of the harm caused and a step toward making amends. The coach looked stunned, his face pale. He nodded stiffly, realizing there was no way out. The courtroom erupted into applause, with supporters clapping and cheering for LeBron. Though this victory was deeply personal, it resonated far beyond the courtroom, serving as a triumph for everyone who had ever faced injustice. The next day, the apology took place on the very basketball court where the incident had begun. Cameras from local news stations captured the scene as a small crowd gathered to witness the moment. The coach stood awkwardly at the center of the court, microphone in hand. His usual air of authority was replaced with hesitation. He glanced at LeBron, who stood nearby, calm and composed, before taking a deep breath. I was wrong, the coach began, his voice faltering. I let my prejudice blind me. My actions were not only unfair, they were unacceptable. No one deserves to be treated the way I treated LeBron, and for that, I am deeply sorry. There was a pause as the coach struggled to continue. This experience has taught me a hard lesson. It's not enough to just follow the rules, we must also uphold the values of respect and equality. LeBron, I hope you can forgive me. LeBron stepped forward, his expression steady but kind. I forgive you, he said, his voice carrying across the court. It takes courage to admit when you're wrong. Let's move forward together and make this game, and this community, better for everyone. The crowd broke into applause, the cheers echoing through the gym. What had started as an act of injustice had turned into a powerful lesson about accountability, forgiveness, and the importance of standing up for what's right. The gym, now silent, served as a powerful reminder of how far things had come. What began as an act of exclusion had turned into a lesson for an entire community, and perhaps, the nation. LeBron's victory wasn't just about basketball. It was about dismantling the barriers of prejudice that had no place in the game or society. It was a stand against the outdated beliefs that sought to divide rather than unite. Racism has no place in sports or anywhere. The court, a symbol of competition and teamwork, is meant to bring people together, not tear them apart. LeBron's courage to confront the injustice he faced proved that respect and equality must always triumph over hate. The coach's apology and acknowledgement of his wrongdoing were just as important. It was a small, yet meaningful step toward healing and understanding. The community had witnessed a transformation, one that began with pain but ended with a powerful message. As the story comes to a close, one thing is clear, this wasn't just LeBron's victory. It was a victory for everyone who dreams of a world where character is valued above color, and talent is seen for what it truly is. This isn't just LeBron's victory, the narrator concludes, their voice steady with emotion. It's a step forward for all of us. A step toward the world we all deserve. Now, the focus shifts to the audience. The narrator's tone becomes direct, almost conversational. What would you have done if you were in LeBron's shoes? Would you have stood up against prejudice or walked away? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters. The narrator pauses for effect, before continuing with a sense of urgency. If you believe in ending racism and building a world where respect comes before hate, share this story. Let's spread the message far and wide. Together, we can make a difference, one story, one conversation at a time. As the video fades out, the words "respect over hate" appear on the screen, a final reminder of the story's powerful lesson.